Ladies and gentlemen, another beautiful day bringing us together in this program, The Profile. Don't forget that you're watching The Profile from your number one television, and of course we will always be there with you on time to profile particular persons and of course institutions as per se. This time we will be looking at the lifestyle of a woman who has equally stood the test of time in the political phase of Cameroon, alongside humanitarian activities, so to say. And of course, don't forget that what a man can do, they say a woman can do, and even better. In The Profile today, we visit Madam Kawala Kabang Edith, who is very instrumental in the political scene in the nation Cameroon. Be with us as we discover more about her. But then, don't forget that each and everyone has a role to play as far as the present dispensation in Cameroon is concerned. And The Profile gets the going as we profile EDITH KA WALLA. Once more, my name is Fa Elvis Tayo. I will be right back. Well, beautiful people, a blessed day keeping us together in the program, The Profile. Welcome once more. And of course, be with us as we take you around the corridors of also discovering somebody else. This time, it's more on the side of a woman, as we did mention at the beginning of this program. Be with us. My name once more is Fa Elvis Tayon on one-on-one chat in the program, The Profile. This time, we are with President, Madam EDITH KA WALLA. It's a pleasure meeting you.
It's very nice to see you as well. Happy New Year. I am wishing political transition for Cameroonians in 2019.
Well, in the program, The Profile, we thank you for taking your busy time to talk to us right away. Now, let's begin by finding out who is Madam Kawala, different from the usual Kawala people know.
Okay. As you know, I am a 54-year-old Cameroonian, an African woman. I have three different types of activities that I do. I am an entrepreneur. My company will be 24 years old in 2019. I am a community activist. I'm very concerned about the different issues and challenges that our communities are facing. And then, of course, I am a political leader, president of a national political party, and very engaged in all of the political challenges of Cameroon.
Well, you got the voice of Madam Kawala talking to us in this program, The Profile. Before we get to the crux of the matter, we'll begin by finding out exactly family background of Madam Kawala. We understand that she was born sometime out of Cameroon, and then we get to know from her the parents, because some people say she has a link with Kumba, what they call K-Town, in the southwest region. Some other people think that you also have a link probably only with the French-speaking region. So let's get to the family background, Madam Kawala.
I am very fortunate to come from a family that is a very Cameroonian family. Okay. My father is from the northwest with three different ethnicities. That is, I am part Bali, part Bafokeng, and then if we follow my patri lineage, which is what we do in Cameroon, then I am Pinyin. So if I were to respond to simply, then I am Pinyin. But my mother, as you have mentioned, is not only from Kumba, K-Town, but my grandmother used to say Bafo Freeborn. So, my mother's line, we are Bafos from the very heart of Kumba.
Right. Now, I am Lady Madam Kawala. People will be also expecting to know probably marriage, children, or probably something like sisters and brothers. And where are they? Because we've not heard about this is a sister to Madam Kawala, it's a brother to Madam Kawala.
Okay. So let me start with my own brothers and sisters. I have 3 brothers, only one of whom lives in Cameroon. Okay. The other one lives in London, and the other one lives in Washington, D.C. in the U.S. I have just one sister, one very dear sister, who also lives in the Washington, D.C. area in the U.S. I am not married. I have 7 adopted children. Okay. So I've brought up 7 children. 6 of them are married. I have, I've stopped counting. I think last time I counted there were over 35 grandchildren whom I enjoy very, very much. I don't have a lot of time, but I do make a little bit of time every once in a while to spend time with my grandchildren. We are coming out of the Christmas period. That is my cooking period for the year, where I get into the kitchen. The rest of the year, it's very hard to find me in the kitchen. But during the holidays, I get into the kitchen, cook for my family, and we have a lot of very nice time together, just enjoying that love of the family.
Now, Madam Kawala, from your explanation, we get you to a brother or sister. They are not in the country, out of the country. Now, which means you two would have equally been out of the country, where the life there is quite, better off than being in Cameroon. What has been keeping you in Cameroon all this while?
What keeps me in Cameroon is 2 things. One is my business. I went to school in the United States. I got my MBA. I came back to Cameroon to build an African business, and we have successfully done so. Our business is based here in Cameroon. We work in over 35 African countries, and we do actually more than 95% of our business outside Cameroon. So I still believe in that need for Africans to come home and to construct, to build a project. And so that Strategies, which is our consulting firm, and which we are very proud to say in 2018, we registered a branch in the United States. So we did it the other way around. Our head office is here, and we now have a branch office in the United States. And I believe very much in that construction of projects. Then the second thing keeping me in Cameroon is, of course, my political conviction. I like to say there is just one problem in Africa. Africans are just as intelligent as anybody else. They are just as creative. They have the ability to run businesses, to run projects, whether it's artistic, cultural, whatever kind of project that you are talking about, scientific. One thing is lacking: the governance of our countries. We do not have the governance framework that can allow individuals to emerge, allow individuals to have an initiative, build that initiative, and make that initiative into something which the entire world can appreciate. We have the intelligence and the talents to be able to do it, but it requires infrastructure. It's difficult to build a business if there's no electricity, there's no water, there are no roads. It's difficult to build a scientific project if nobody is investing in research and development. It's difficult to build a cultural project if nobody is investing in art and the creative activities. So we are lacking the infrastructure that will allow our individual talents to emerge. To me, this is the Central African problem, and it's definitely the Central Cameroonian problem. So that's why I'm here. That's why I continue to choose, because I work all over the world. In the last few years, I have taught in, I think, over 6 of what they call the Ivy Leagues in the United States. That is Harvard, that is Dartmouth, that is I will be going for a program at University of Penn next year, and I get invited, of course, all the time. Can't you stay? Can't you become a permanent lecturer here? And the answer is no, because somebody has to build our country. We cannot just continue taking our talent to go and build the countries of others.
Now, let's find out. From what you say, we understand there is you operate in three phases. We have the political side of you, we have the humanitarian part of you, and the business part of you. Now, let's dwell a little bit on the humanitarian part of it. We hear that you run some humanitarian organizations, you have been on the ground to cater for the underprivileged. May we get to know exactly how this humanitarian aspect of yours operates on the ground?
So the organization that I'm part of, which we created in 2008, that is community focused, is an organization called Cameroon Oboso. In the context of Cameroon Oboso, what we do is to accompany communities, accompany groups with regard to their rights, be those economic, political, or social rights. So it is in that context that you will see us working with market women, that you will see us working with fishermen, that you may see us carrying out certain types of entrepreneurship activities for youth, for example. Cameroon Obuso is very proud to have trained over 2,000 youth on the questions of leadership and management over the years. Within our political activities, so I like to say that my experience as an entrepreneur and as a business person and the community activism that I have is what informs my political career. I believe that politics should be for the people. You cannot know what to do for the people unless you are in contact with them, unless you are talking with them and helping them to solve problems. That's what makes you understand the problem better, and to be able to take it from that grassroots level to a policy level where the politicians are talking. Within Stand Up for Cameroon, we have also been very, very active. Even in the past year, we have supported IDPs in Batibo, Ewo, in Bamenda. We will be going soon to the southwest region to support IDPs. We have probably been one of the most constant groups since January 2017 with those who were arrested for the Anglophone cause. So we have remained in contact with them. We supported them throughout their court appearances in 2017, 2018. We very practical things. These people in prison, they need food. Just a few days ago, we were contacted. People are sick. They need to be able to buy the medication for the illnesses that they are facing. And then, prison in Cameroon, it's all about money. You want to have water, you need money. You need to go to use the restroom, you need money. And so we provide a little bit of support. It's not much, but I think the most important support we give to those in prison is the moral support, to be in contact with them constantly, to visit them, to make sure that they know that we have not forgotten. These people are arrested unjustly. They stood up for a cause, and because we are in a repressive regime, they were arrested. We need to fight the cause, but we cannot forget about those who have lost their basic freedom because of this cause. So those are some of the activities that we do.
Now, when some Cameroonians are of the opinion that your constant humanitarian gesture or running Oboso, as you mentioned, it's like a way of making yourself popular in the political scene. Do you agree with this, or it's just part of you as to be humanitarian inclined?
I think number one is that if you look at my personal journey in life, you will discover that that is very much a part of my personality, and that I was involved in community work long before I was involved in politics. Actually, it is community work. It's one of the key elements that brought me to politics, because when I was helping communities try to have water, we used to work in regions and help communities to build wells, helping communities to build a school. That was when I understood that the political framework is the problem, because if when you start trying to help a community to build a well, then you understand that government, who has not done the job, because it's government's job to give people water. But when you want to build a well, you realize that the administrative officials come in. Sometimes they even want to steer the project awry, and very often they are not the means to help the community, not only to build the project, but to maintain it over time. So for me, there is a doubt. To me, politics does not make sense without people. The only reason to be in politics is to improve the lives of people. If you are not able to bring solutions to the everyday problems that people face, I don't know what the politics is all about. And to me, you can only know problems by touching them, by feeling them, by being on the ground. So grassroots politics to me is very, very important.
Now, Madam Kawalla, let's get to another interesting part. We're revisiting your past movements when it comes to civil society activities and the political activities. Now, we understand that some people call you a no-nonsense politician. You are always fearless, always on the field, and you are always at loggerheads with police officers, administrative officials. You have been locked up several times. How do you manage to go through this, and where do you get this courage from?
I think so. My courage comes from a number of sources. Let me talk about one which you have already mentioned: my family. Okay. I had the good luck to be born into a family where my parents were very clear on principle. We were not allowed to complain about things. Okay. My father would say, if you are going to complain, do something about it. You see, we would go outside, maybe we have a problem in a store, we are not happy with the service and so on. He would say, don't come here complaining to me. I'm not the store owner, I'm not the... You go to the store owner, find out who is in charge, and lay your complaint. So I grew up with that. My father was very strong about Africans as the solution for African problems, and my mother was very, very strong about women's issues. So I grew up in this atmosphere where you had to stand for a cause. It was not enough for you to go to school, do well in school, and do well professionally is expected. But now you had to go beyond that and stand for your community cause, stand for your African cause. So I grew up in that atmosphere. And then I have to also acknowledge what I call my motherline. Starting from my great-grandmothers, I happen to come on both sides, my mother's side and my father's side, from a line of very, very strong women. Strong professionally, strong economically, and strong politically. And sometimes when people say to me, I'm a strong woman, I smile, because I think if I were not doing what I'm doing, my grandmothers would visit me and ask me, my friend, why are you being so lax about things? Yeah. So I have had that fortune to be exposed to that as a child, to grow up in it, and to have those values inculcated to me. My grandmother from Bali said to me, from the time I was, as far back as I can remember, you are Ka. Ka in Bali is a prefix. There are so many Kas, so even in my family, I am Ka Bang, there's a Ka Kentit, there's a Ka Sama, but she says this title of Ka is the symbol of love and power, symbolized by the grandmother. So she says, as a grandmother, you have the right to speak anywhere. Any assembly where people are gathered, you as a grandmother, you can enter and they must listen to you. Okay. But so it means you have power. You have the power to enter anywhere, but you must do so with love. As a child, when I used to fight with the other children, we argue and so on, she would call me and say, you are car. If you fight with the others, who will bring back the harmony? Your job is to bring the harmony. So I think, these principles can be taught in so many ways. I was lucky to have parents who taught them in a very formal way, through the book, the school way, but to have grandparents who taught them through our own traditions and through our own proverbs and ways of thinking.
And now, when we look at you always wanted to push hard, now don't you think you might be working in vain, given that the context under which you operate is not a very straight atmosphere as you understand the political ups and downs, dictatorship in Africa, and of course everything getting wrong? Do you think you still have what it takes to push through for change to be in the society coming from the political aspect?
Once again, in my upbringing, I was taught that I am responsible for what I do. Okay. My responsibility is to see something, take it on, and bring the solution. Okay. That solution may work, it might not work. But the only question I have to answer is, what have I done? Have I brought the solution to the very best of my abilities, as far as I could go? Of course, I firmly believe that change in Cameroon will happen within my lifetime and with me at the forefront. Okay. Absolutely. But in case it does not happen, I am certain that I would have moved. The starting place for the next person coming after me is not the starting place for me. So I would have moved things forward to a place where, if by any chance it does not, we don't get to the final result in my own lifetime, the next person coming after me will move it from there. I am not starting from zero. I always put myself in the historical timeline of Cameroon. Women and men fought for the independence of this country. They moved it forward. Did we get the independence we hoped for? No. Very obviously no. Part of our current crisis is because that independence was not really what we wanted. But are we better off for what they did? Yes. Because they fought a part of the battle. In the early 90s, Yondo Black, Frundi, Harriet Ekwe, all of these people, they fought for multi-partyism in this country. Do we have the democracy we want? No, a very, very far cry from it. But if they had not fought, I would not be president of CPP today. So, we must look at the fight as moving it forward. And the question that each of us, I think, as Cameroonians has to answer, did I do what I could and should have done to the very best of my abilities?
Now, we're listening to, watching President Ka Walla talking to us here in this special one-on-one chat in the program at The Profile. Now, let's come back to another issue here. We understand we operate in an environment where women are not so much given the room to lead in the society. You look at the government ministers, you look at the administrative places, you don't see women as per se, as per the percentage that you would have loved them to be. Now, when you are a woman pushing out, do you meet some challenges even from administrative authorities, thinking that as a woman, they think your ideas should not push forward?
Of course. We live in a society where women are far from equal in the society. But you know, the Cameroonian society is also a bit of a paradox. When you look throughout history, you always find women leaders who have done so much for this country. If you look into our economy, just step outside this door, and you realize that Cameroonian women are a pillar of this economy. If they were to stop working just for one day, the country would come to a halt. So what I do personally is to stand on the shoulders of my mothers, to stand on the shoulders of all those women who have fought for this country. And so I never question myself whether this is my place. Of course it's my place. Of course it's my place.
Right.
If my grandmothers were doing it, then what more of me? So I don't question my place. I know that I will have obstacles as a woman, more than the obstacles that the average person has. I work around those obstacles. And I am also fortunate in the fact that as I meet Cameroonians, as I exchange with Cameroonians, the vast majority of Cameroonians don't care whether the leader is a man or a woman. That is the vast majority do not care. They want change. They want leadership with integrity. They want leadership that's able to solve problems. They want leadership that gives them opportunity. So I stand in that strength, and that is the place from which I carry out my action.
Now, President Ka Walla, we understand you have always been agitating for change in Cameroon, and you have always been carrying out several moves. Now, the question we have here is, why you clamor for change? There are problems in the northwest, southwest, west, center, far north, east, and all the like. Why do you always concentrate your protest march and other moves specifically in the nation's capital in Yaoundé?
It is clear. If you want to change something, you go to the heart of where that thing is. Right now, in the current configuration of Cameroon, Yaoundé is the heart and the brain of Cameroon. We have an objective to put an end to the Biya regime. We are very clear about that objective. The regime has been there for 36 years. For us to move forward, they have to close shop. They have to. Now, where does that regime reside? Where is its seat of power? It is in Yaoundé. So when you protest in Lebialan or in Meganga or in Konjok, it's a protest. But the people who are making the decisions that impact you in those places, the people who have the ability to make change, the people whom we want to leave, they are only in one city, and that city is Yaoundé. So that is why we focus on Yaoundé. And I am inviting Cameroonians in this 2019 to join us. The year should not finish before we get the business of political transition on track.
Well, thank you very much for that information. We get to another point again. When we talk about change all the time, certainly it is an implication that if Madam Ka Walla was at a position of decision making, surely things would have changed somehow, somewhere. So, are we saying if for now President Paul Biya decides to appoint Madam Ka Walla, probably the Minister of Territorial Administration, or the Prime Minister of this country, could that do you some good to allow President Paul Biya rest for the time being?
No, the nomination would not be accepted. That is number one. I have no interest. This particular regime, why do we say it has to close up shop? We didn't come to this conclusion because we don't like Paul Biya, or we don't like people who are with PM. We came to this conclusion after analysis.
Okay.
The current system is incapable. That means even if they want to, they cannot solve problems. We saw it with the African Nations Cup. I think they wanted to organize that cup. I think they thought it was a good thing for themselves to organize that cup. But they are so dysfunctional as a system that they are unable to produce results even for themselves. that is a time, and this happens in organizations all over the world. I am an organizational consultant. Okay. There are times when people must go. They are no longer able to produce what you need. And so, Mr. Bia's appointment would make a little noise on social media for a few days, but would not at all change my position. And the other thing is that our problem is not with an individual. Mr. Bia is the symbol. He's the symbol of a system. It is that system that must change. And when we talk about political transition, it is about dialoguing to redefine who we are and what we want as a country. It is about reforming institutions, rewriting the constitution, defining a different state for Cameroon, not what we have now. And it is about changing the leadership, but changing the citizens as well. Because when we talk about change, it's not only those who on top must change, those at the bottom. So that means programs of education, of sensitization, a different way of making decisions so that communities can be at the center of decision making. So you see what we have to change. It's not about an individual. It's not about President Paul Biya as a man. It is about a system, an entire system that has to change.
Now, before we wrap up this short discourse, we want to find out you have first-hand experience where you have been probably been manhandled by the force of law and order. We actually had sometimes how you were prevented from leaving your house. There are times that you have been arrested and probably water cannons poured on you in Yaoundé. Maybe gets that kind of a shocking time that it's memorable for you and the force of law and order or the government.
It is unfortunate that we live in a very, very violent, repressive regime. And today the violence that has happened to me personally is minimal compared to what some other Cameroonians are facing. We talked earlier about people who are in Kodengi for doing the same thing that I do, which is to stand up for their rights. Some people have been killed in the northwest and southwest regions for standing up for their right. We saw a horrible video of citizens being lined up and shot down by the army in the extreme north. So Cameroonian citizens undergo a lot of violence from this regime. As you mentioned, I have been water hosed. I have been arrested on multiple occasions. My house has been surrounded on multiple occasions, and on each of those occasions, you feel violated as a citizen. You feel violated because these are the people who are supposed to be protecting you. Their job for which you pay them, because we pay taxes that pay soldiers. We pay taxes that pay ministers. We pay taxes that pays the head of state. So these people are our employees, and they take it upon themselves to violate us and our rights. It is a very, very horrible feeling when that happens, and I think you understand that it is part of my motivation. Each time it happens to me, I say, this should never ever happen to me again, and it should never happen to any other Cameroonian. So we must fight. We must fight to change the system that allows this to happen to ordinary citizens whom we are. So, contrary to what people think, when you experience the violence, you don't get afraid. Yeah. On the contrary, it makes you stronger. Right. You are very clear on what it is that has to be done.
So, could we rightly say that President Ka Walla is an ironed lady, the fearless, who is probably respected by the government, because several times in your outward manifestations, followers could be detained for some days, but for you it's usually a matter of hours, and then you are released.
I would say that one, I'm not fearless. I don't want to give that impression.
Okay.
I overcome fear. Of course, I would advise anybody who is protesting and finds themselves face to face with somebody who has a gun. You should fear. Okay. You should fear.
Even though you don't fear.
Yeah, I do fear in that situation, but I overcome my fear.
Okay.
Why? Because my fear of what Cameroon could be if we do not change this system is greater than my fear of what may happen to me in that moment. I overcome fear in that situation because I feel that when I see my country with war in 6 regions out of 10, I am afraid. That is my real fear. What will happen to this country? What kind of future are we building? What will happen to our children? That is a very, very strong fear in me, which is stronger than the fear of the soldier who is in front of me. But I want to say that the reason, not only me, but in the movements that we are a part of, the reason we are often not detained for long is not because we are fearless. It is because we are organized. Non-violent action, when you go for non-violent action against somebody who is violent, you have to be trained. So we spend a lot of time in training, and you have to be organized. I don't believe, we have seen some leaders in recent times ask people to manifest, to go to the street, and they themselves are not there.
Okay.
The leader has to be in front. The leader should be in front of the protest.
Right.
And to be in front, you have to be organized.
Okay.
You have to have done your homework to bring people to the field. So I will not tell you everything we do because then we'll be putting our secrets out.
Yeah.
But I think as the government pressures us, so we pressure them.
All right.
It's not a one-way street.
Okay.
As they put pressure on us with violence, so we put pressure on them without violence. And we are very convinced that we are going to win in the end.
And when you put those kind of pressures upon the government, are you not scared sometimes that you could be charged with terrorism as the law states?
I have a secret for you.
All right.
I have been charged with terrorism. I was arrested once and charged under the terrorism law. That risk is there. But you know, the people who are in prison currently under the terrorism law, we are benefiting as a society. We are benefiting as a society from the fact that they stood up, they had the courage, and they confronted the system. Because they did that, we can fight in their name. We can tell the world that this thing that is happening is not normal. So, I don't want to be arrested. I don't want to lose my freedom. But what I'm fighting for as an objective for Cameroon is greater than me as an individual or any other individual that comes out with us as we go for non-violent action.
Well, you just watch Madam EDITH KA WALLA talking to us here. And of course, as we wrap up this short discourse, we'll get our last word here. Let's find out, let's take you as a political prophet in the country. You made mention 2019 will not go through without things happening. Now, we understand Northwest, Southwest region is boiling, other regions, East is not so secured, and the northern regions are not too good. Now, we understand you refused taking part in the last presidential election. Now, knowing fully well that you have elections around the corner within this year, do you see that as a brighter future for Cameroon?
I have to tell you that I've been asked that question a lot. And to me, it is the most amusing question because we did not go to elections, presidential elections, for 2 reasons. One, we do not conceive of going to elections while some citizens are being killed. To us, it does not make moral sense, it does not make intellectual sense, it does not make emotional sense. You cannot be, as Africans, we say we are Africans, we are Bantu. When somebody dies, we close the business next door, right? To acknowledge that life. When something happens to your neighbor, you stop what you are doing and you go and see about that neighbor, sometimes for days and for weeks. So we cannot say we are a country, especially for those who stand for the country remaining one. We cannot say we want the country to remain one, but They are shooting people here. People are in dire straits. They are becoming refugees. They are becoming displaced persons. We say, no, that's their problem. We are going on with business as usual in the rest of the country. It's just inconceivable for us. Will that have changed by the next election? Are we going to have mayors in Douala and in Gaundere, but no mayor in Mamfe? What are we saying? What are we really saying? Because this problem of Northwest and Southwest, we put it on the table before the election. Some of our colleagues decided to go to election in any case. Then they came again and put it on the table at the Constitutional Court. To us, it doesn't make sense. We are not in a situation where we can go into elections safely throughout the Northwest and Southwest, and even in some regions. I have to tell you that I've been asked that question a lot, and to me it is the most amusing question, because we did not go to presidential elections for two reasons. One, we do not conceive of going to elections while some citizens are being killed. To us, it does not make moral sense, it does not make intellectual sense, it does not make emotional sense. You cannot be, as Africans, we say we are Africans, we are Bantu. When somebody dies, we close the business next door, right? To acknowledge that life. When something happens to your neighbor, you stop what you are doing and you go and see about that neighbor, sometimes for days and for weeks. So we cannot say we are a country, especially for those who stand for the country remaining one. We cannot say we want the country to remain one, but they are shooting people here. People are in dire straits. They are becoming refugees. They are becoming displaced persons. We say, no, that's their problem. We are going on with business as usual in the rest of the country. It's just inconceivable for us. Will that have changed by the next election? Are we going to have mayors in Douala and in Gaundere, but no mayor in Mamfe? What are we saying? What are we really saying? Because this problem of Northwest and Southwest, we put it on the table before the election. Some of our colleagues decided to go to election in any case. Then they came again and put it on the table at the Constitutional Court. To us, it doesn't make sense. We are not in a situation where we can go into elections safely throughout the Northwest and Southwest, and even in some regions in the extreme north and in the east. Therefore, we should not go to elections. That is number one. Number two is that the electoral system is controlled by one. You cannot go to a tournament. You are having a football tournament. I ask people, will you accept Cameroon is going to Cannes in a few, it's going to the African Nations Cup in a few months. We will be participating. Will we agree to participate in that tournament if we are playing against Algeria and Algeria has chosen the referee? Will we agree to play in that tournament if we are playing against Algeria and Algeria is the one selling the tickets to the fans who can come into the stadium? Will we agree to play with Algeria if Algeria is the one controlling the linesmen, the ball catchers, and all the officials on the field? That is only a football match. If you lose it, nothing happens. But we are talking about our country, our future, our nation. And we want to accept things which we will not accept for a simple football match. Nothing will have changed for the next election. Elekam is a CPDM machine. It will still be a CPDM machine in the next election. We saw them at the Constitutional Court. They don't defend the elections, they defend CPDM. Mr. Atanganji will still be, he has been confirmed minister, he will still be the minister of the territorial administration. If it's not him, he will be another member of the Central Committee of the CPDM. That is who it has traditionally been. He is the supervisor of the elections. The Constitutional Council will still be a CPDM Constitutional Council. Where are we going to do what? So the answer is clear for the CPD. Very, very clear.
All right.
We have business on the table, which is ending this regime and going to political transition. Let's get on about that business. Cameroonians, don't waste your energy on elections. Join us for non-violent action in Yaoundé. Let us finally get change in this country.
Well, thank you for taking your busy time to talk to us. We're wishing you the best in your political career as we follow your footsteps as you move along.
Thank you, and a very happy 2019 to all Cameroonians. Happy because we will have made the change.
Well, that's a clue. That's what we could gather here at this one-on-one discussion with Madam Kawala. Be with us as we'll be wrapping up the program, The Profile, in just a little while. Ladies and gentlemen, it is at this juncture that we draw our curtains to this program, The Profile. We hope you did enjoy the profile of Madam Kawala EDITH Kabang, and if that was quite interesting to you, you could equally be part of the program, The Profile, through the telephone numbers +237 675 994599. Until then, keep watching the program, The Profile. My name once more is Fa Elvis Tayo. God bless you. Well, televiewers, it's a special day welcoming you to the program, The Profile, on Canal Dol English. And of course, we welcome each and every one of you in this special production. And of course, in today's special edition of The Profile, remember, we shall be taking you around the basic issues and of course, profiling people and of course, enterprises that matter as time goes on. Be with us.
Liberty Law Firm. As you can see, this is our reception. Our clients who need our services, want to solicit for our services, always come and wait here, and then thereafter we'll take them to our conference room.